day 2 for me and you, Albie. Shattuck, how are you?
I am well.
You look absolutely hot as hell.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You really do. This is ridiculous.
Thank you, honey.
Shouldn't be this attracted to you this far into our relationship.
Why
but
not?
You look great. And
but to be honest with you, we're both losing weight.
Yes. Well, wait a second. How can you tell in my case?
Well, you look skinnier.
Well, how can you tell in my case, Alice, using science? Don't be a science denier. Did we both witness some science this morning?
This morning.
And by the way, was one of us completely naked?
One of us was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell people about the science we saw today.
When completely naked.
Yes.
You are no longer an error on our scale.
That is correct. I don't like to brag. I put my pants on one leg at a time still, Alice. Yes, I am no longer an error on my scale. The scale that has had me as an error for 4 years now. I am no longer an error as of today. I was very shocked, actually. I didn't think so, because I didn't feel like I had lost any weight in California.
I felt like you did. I felt like by the end of our trip, you looked skinnier to me, like in your face and stuff.
I mean, we certainly deprived ourselves of
every good thing.
Of every California cuisine. Not every. I mean, we had a couple of.
We didn't get to have churros.
Oh.
We didn't get to have a lot of stuff.
God. I mean, just think about all the stuff. The angel hair, the tacos.
The place that sliced open the bag of Doritos and dumped nacho cheese into it.
That's on my Instagram, by the way. Oh my God. That's as if that's a direct attempt by God himself to say, all right, listen, watch what I do to this fat boy. Busted over the chips by half by these wonderful Mexican women who spoke no English, and seeing them just ladle cheese into the middle of the bag until it became heavy. The damage I could have done had I not been on this health plan, Alice, I would have rock and rolled the holy F out of that place and never have left that area. Never.
But no. It's working.
So
that's the important thing.
It is. The first thing we got there, by the way, it's funny that the first thing we got there, we ate at a restaurant at the end of Santa Monica Pier, where they served us tilapia fully charred with its little head on, and full of bones.
The kids were shocked.
Yes, full of bones and inedible. And so, like, our one free meal was essentially eating the scales off of a tilapia. We learned our lesson from there and tried to get a little more shrewd. But we were pathetic. Like in that Spanish restaurant where you and I were rubbing the marinade off of the salmon. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is low. That is low. You are low. And then you were still mad at us and yourself for us cheating technically because you're not supposed to have marinade on there. But it was tough on vacation to. It was tough. It was just the temptation itself was like, oh man. The food was
so and then you try and be good, and you're still having to scrape stuff off of things and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This beautiful stuff, like refried beans and beautiful rice, and like the stuff that usually I would rock and roll.
That being said, even though following this plan there's like a lot of things that I miss eating, mm-hmm. I never actually feel hungry. That's like not a thing that happens. I feel well fed. And actually, I feel a lot better, like, health-wise than I normally would.
Yeah.
So, I don't, like, that's not to knock it at all, because I actually feel awesome and am full all the time.
I also think it's weight loss in a different way, and that's why it doesn't feel like normal weight loss to me. It's just like I also have a huge gut to go through, so maybe there's some of that, but usually I've nenever done weight loss. Anyway, we don't have to plug them. It's Awaken 180, and I'm talking about them plenty on WTIC. But we can find an endorsement where I'm a sponsor of theirs. They're a sponsor of mine. I don't know.
They're a sponsor of yours.
So they put me on
WTIC.
this thing. They put Alice on it, so I could do testimonials, and it's awesome. You know, had there been a fraudulent like Acme fat burn by some like just greaseball charlatan who said, yeah, do the fat burn thing and whatever, I would have probably endorsed that too. I'm shameless. But this one is actually awesome. And the lady who runs it, we should talk to her sometime, is awesome. And nobody wants to, it feels like I'm doing a spot now, so we'll talk about it later. It's just awesome. But do try it if you want, if you can. To talk to the people. They've got places all over Massachusetts anyway. In New Hampshire. All right, so I started off saying something else before I.
Yeah, we were talking about something totally different. Was it about eating food?
No. Is Alice Shattuck?
You're not in error. You said I look attractive.
Yes, you look
that
attractive.
was the whole thing.
Right. I meant to say something about stuff going on. Oh, yes. By the way, if you guys have noticed that the Phantom episode is still not up on Apple. I did notice today that Commentary Magazine's thing is not up on Apple, and that the Louder with Crowder thing has been going nuts. It uploaded 500 episodes today.
Really?
Yeah. So Apple is having trouble, some kind of trouble. It's just kind of nuts.
I bet you they're getting because I don't think they've responded to our email yet. So
Yeah.
I bet they've been getting a lot of complaints because something's up with them for sure. But yeah. Anyway. If that's the way you listen, then you have yesterday's episode, and hopefully you'll have today's, but you don't have Tom's solo one from Sunday.
Yeah, which stinks because it was raw coming off the trip emotion, and I didn't exactly drill deep into too much politics. So we talked a little bit about Biden and Dan, but it was just shooting the breeze in a way that feels very natural, in a way that is very natural. So even though we're in unprecedented territory here, and what Biden did with the give the student loan debt relief is a wholly, if it's constitutional, it's disgraceful. It's one of the worst acts any president has ever done. Trump never did anything close to that. It goes against core principles of what was the Democratic Party. It's wealth from the poor to the rich. It's incredible that it's happening. The the most fortunate people who have graduate degrees are now getting a bailout, care of the taxpayers' working poor.
But you know why? It's because the split has gotten more and more pronounced over recent years. That college-educated people more and more vote Democrat compared to Republicans. That tends to be more so the dividing line than ever before in our history. So this is a handout from Biden, well, from us really, but Biden is doing it for his voters, so to excite them because he knows that the country sucks.
It's still the most cynical thing that we've ever seen.
Right.
It's splitting America in two. You can't do this stuff that feels like the English king's first rights with your new wife. You can't do that and not have people take it effing seriously, because we used to hear the union guys saying, "You're taking money off my daughter's plate." Well, this precisely is taking money away and giving it to people who are doing much better than you. So we talked about it, and it's just hard to not go over it. This guy is the worst president in American history. He's the worst in American history. He's worse than Woodrow Wilson. He's worse than people who locked people up. He's worse than the people who were pro-slavery. He's worse than anybody. This guy is the worst, most damaging POS that's ever been in the White House.
Well, yeah, and we weren't even doing our shows, but then last week, the stuff with calling MAGA people,
yes, the
all
Palpatine
semi-fascists and the bright red background and the Marines and the whole look of the thing. I mean, he's just the most disgustingly divisive president in my lifetime.
Right. And the fact that Democrats now at least are more excited, the Democrats feel better, and have narrowed the gap in the congressional ballot, and it seems to have pushed the momentum in the other way, means that you may not have a washout. This you may not take the Senate. You may not even take the House. Probably, but still,
I think they'll probably take the House, and I think there are states where they have a better chance in the Senate.
Here's the thing: if the American people, if the left is this energized and this fine with Biden doing everything, that means they've bought hook, line, and sinker the entire insurrection thing. They believe that the Roe v. Wade thing was a Republican push, and it's absolutely, and in some states it was. I mean,
right,
and they think that the way Biden's acting is just fine. Well, then they've made a moral decision in their minds, out of laziness or out of psychological bankruptcy, that the others in this country are lesser than and must be treated like lesser than.
Oh, but the left now, and honestly, to me, it seems worse than it was during Trump. The left now has a huge mental problem about Trump and Trump supporters. And I think it's worse now than it was when he was president, to be honest with you. They are more insane and unhinged than ever. And I don't know why, but it like seems to be hitting this fever pitch with them. And like they're in some religious movement and it's super weird. So I happened to see today the October magazine covers are coming out because they are. So this is the October Vogue cover is Jennifer Lawrence. And so she's the big cover star and they do a big in-depth interview with her. So the interview, I read it because I like Jennifer Lawrence. Like I think she's a pretty good actress. She looks more beautiful than ever. She's a new mom. I kind of thought it was interesting. So I go to read. Jennifer Lawrence talks motherhood, Causeway, that's her new movie, and the end of Roe v. Wade. Because this actress, for some reason, how old is she? 32-year-old actress who has one kid is somehow now an expert on Roe v. Wade. But okay, fine. Like, I mean, her prime thing she's famous for is being really attractive and in movies. Like, not politics, but...
Well, sure. I mean, she was rather uniquely charming.
Yeah, but she's, like, beautiful and lovely, and, I mean... There's rumors about her and Harvey Weinstein, but I don't know.
Really?
Well, because he like cast her and stuff, and like he blew off other people. That's why. But like he like would blacklist people that wouldn't. So
yeah,
that's
I
like
know
the
that,
theory.
Alice, I've heard
that's the theory.
Are you suggesting she slept her way to the top?
That's a rumor about her. I'm not saying that, but I don't think it's true. But that is a rumor about her.
I like this very attractive version of you being callously catty like that. Is very sexy.
It's not really catty. I'm just saying.
No, you called her a whore. That's fine.
That's not what I said. So anyway, this is the interviewer writes, in late June, I drove to Lawrence's house in Beverly Hills. She greeted me at the door in a knee-length gray robe and fluffy white slippers. She had just finished a fitting for this photo shoot.
Where is this written? This
Vogue. And given the dress code of our first meeting, which was at a spa in the first half of the article, saw no need to put on more clothes. I was like, she's already seen me naked, so who cares?
What?
Lawrence led me through a sunken den to a large...
Who's writing this?
I don't know, some Vogue writer.
Who?
Her name is Abby Aguirre, Aguirre.
Abby, hold on one second. I want to see if this is a good scenario here. She and Abby naked in the spa. This is...
okay.
Hold on.
Anyway.
Don't worry anyway. I'm not moving on yet. Abby Aguirre. Is this the one in Vogue? This has potential.
Okay.
Of being very good and important.
Lawrence led me through a sunken den.
By the way, do girls go to spas naked?
I don't know what they did at the spa. I don't know.
But what are the naked options in a spa?
Like massages and stuff.
Oh, but they'd be next to each other, seeing each other?
They could be, but they wouldn't look at each other. But whatever.
Well, apparently Jennifer Lawrence saw Abby.
No, the other way around. So, whatever. Anyway. Lawrence led me through a sunken den to a large outdoor dining area that was screened in, Southern style. As she uncorked a bottle of white wine, she warned me that she was in a mood. Not a bad mood exactly, but a consistently emotional one, brought on by the Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade a few days earlier.
There's no place hit harder than Beverly Hills when it comes to abortion law.
Much of her disappointment was directed at certain relatives back in Louisville, Kentucky, where she'd grown up, including her father. The 2016 election had torn open a rift in her family. Repairing it was an ongoing process, particularly since having a baby she had been trying to heal. She even discussed with her therapist the recurring nightmares she has about Tucker Carlson.
Oh my God!
This is psychotic behavior. It's not normal to have a baby and be having dreams about Tucker Carlson. It's not okay.
Tucker Carlson, the floppy-haired wasp who
she has
like,
recurring
laughs.
nightmares. Recurring nightmares about Tucker Carlson. Okay.
What is...
She has a new baby and she has time to have recurring nightmares about Tucker Carlson.
She, no doubt, hangs out in rooms full of people in Hollywood parties who have shot other people regularly. And she's worried about the Swanson food guy.
Yeah. I just worked so hard in the last 5 years to forgive my dad and my family and try to understand. It's different. The information they're getting is different. Their life is different.
Imagine that.
Lauren,
they're getting different information than this precise information that I and all my friends here who think just like me are getting. Huh.
Lawrence had a haunted look in her eyes. She would stop at times to apologize or make a self-deprecating joke and then get visibly overtaken by emotion again.
I remember during the Nazi occupation, people between spa days, we used to say, this is terrible. I'll take the 4:30, please. Fluffy bunny shoes.
I felt like I was watching a real-life version of whatever it is that happens when she acts. I've tried to get over it, and I really can't. I can't. I'm sorry, I'm just unleashing, but I can't F with people who aren't political anymore. You live in the United States of America. You have to be political. It's too dire. Politics is killing people. The reversal of Roe was reigniting all of it. She had not been entirely in Hillary Clinton's corner.
My dad should never have had kids, but should have had them aborted. Don't you see that?
She had not been entirely in Hillary Clinton's corner, but still found it incredibly upsetting that the country elected Donald Trump. It breaks my heart because America had the choice between a woman and a dangerous, dangerous jar of mayonnaise. And they were like, well, we can't have a woman. Let's go with the jar of mayonnaise.
First of all, disparaging jars of mayonnaise, even on my current health plan, is a no bueno. Jennifer
and now,
Lawrence.
Thanks to the Supreme Court.
By the way, why is he a jar of mayonnaise? What the hell does that mean?
I don't know what it means either. And now, thanks to the Supreme Court
justices...
is
that because he's white and...
I don't know. I think it's like a sort of a stand-in for empty suit, maybe. Like she's saying you have a choice between a woman and something really lame.
Utilitarian?
That can't be president. Well, a jar of mayonnaise, it wouldn't make a good president, I think is the idea. And now, thanks to Supreme Court justices appointed by that dangerous jar of mayonnaise, the unthinkable had happened. I don't want to disparage my family, but I know that a lot of people are in a similar position with their families. How could you raise a daughter from birth and believe she doesn't deserve equality? How?
Oh, that's beautiful. Raise a daughter from what?
Birth.
Oh, okay. She didn't trip over that at all, or think maybe...
Nothing, no. Growing up in a conservative home, Lawrence had thought of herself as a Republican, but it was almost a cultural thing, like sports or something. She had the notion there were two teams and that the Republicans were her team.
It's funny, we never knew that she thought of herself as a Republican until she wasn't one anymore.
No, it's just like all the other people who are now bashing Trump. I'm a Republican and I don't even like Trump. Like,
let me guess. She didn't leave the Republican Party.
It left her.
Right.
Then one night, when she was 16, I think when a lot of us have our really important deep thoughts about politics, she was watching 30 Rock. And Liz Lemon said something along the lines of, I'm not a crazy liberal, I just think people should drive hybrid cars. It made sense. It seemed rational. Later, when she made movies in other countries, she saw how money always tended to concentrate at the top, not just in the United States, how it rarely trickled down to working people. She gathered more perspective, the more money she made. To her, Republican had always meant, why should my taxes pay for your haughty lifestyle? Now she saw holes in that logic. Nobody likes to see half their paycheck go away, but it made sense to me. Yeah, for the greater good, I guess it makes sense. Oh, now that you're a gajillionaire, it's okay with you if you pay more taxes? Oh, God. Well, fine then, Jennifer.
Well, but
you
also,
can sign up to pay more taxes.
Are we following that money at all, Jennifer, or is that going to enrich more people?
The greater good was Grindelwald's catchphrase.
Yeah, as our daughter points out, who's a big Harry Potter fan, for the greater good is the catchphrase of the evil wizard in the Harry Potter series. Because everything bad that happens is for the greater good.
I don't watch that because J.K. Rowling is a transphobe, so sorry.
Just as the professional inevitably mixed with the personal inevitably mixed with the political. The persistent pay gap between her and her male co-stars, for example.
You know, I'm sorry, Alice, but do you think her being dumb but hot makes me like her more or less?
I assume you like her more right now.
I'm liking her more every moment.
It reflects the pay gap between men and women writ large, and it delivers the same insult. It doesn't matter how much I do. I'm still not going to get paid as much as that guy because of my vagina.
Well, considering what Alice was suggesting earlier.
The hacking and leaking of her nude photos felt punitive, as though it was because she was one of the highest paid actresses in the world that someone thought, strip her clothes off.
First of all, she stripped her clothes off. The world just found it, and she was one of many
She
women.
was hacked. I mean, I am not for that.
Alice, okay. But, Kathy Najimy was not.
Who's that?
Okay. Rebel Wilson was not. The girl who played Precious was not.
Oh, I see.
Okay?
I see what you're getting at.
Yes. She was hacked because she was a little smoke show and because she has beautiful person's privilege. That's why she was hacked. I'm not saying that she had it coming or that it's not horribly invasive for her like that, but all the beautiful women were hacked.
Yeah. It's because you're attractive, not because you're highly paid.
Right. The same thing that got her through the doors of many places.
Roe was hitting especially hard. To imagine children and 18-year-olds in any sort of situation with limited options was simply too much to bear, even more so now that she does have a baby. And how on earth can anyone have children and not want to restrict access to guns? She wanted to know. I'm raising a little boy who is going to go to school one day. Guns are the #1 cause of death for children in the United States, and people are still voting for politicians who receive money from the NRA.
And Mommy will be able to scare the hell out of him every day before I put him on the bus because Mommy now had a taste, an appetite, a tapas portion of political knowledge, and now Mommy's just scared and panicking because she's decided to burrow no deeper than that. And so she's going to scare everybody in her family all around her as she sucks down Percocets and whatever else she's taking. I love that she's stupid.
We as a nation just went, okay, we are going to allow our children to lay down their lives for our right to a Second Amendment that was written over 200 years ago.
These are all, you know what? The thing about these thoughts is these are all totally original. I've not heard any of these takes before. They are especially deep in...
At one point, I asked Lawrence if there was still open communication about politics with her family, if she still broaches the subject with her relatives in Kentucky. I broached the subject in the sense that I unleash text messages, just boom, 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 boom. They don't respond. And then I'll feel bad and I'll send a picture of the baby.
Jesus. I'd rather have the hate message.
I'm trying to find further down. She does explain some of the texts she started sending to her family, but she just goes on and on. She's like, she was upset about Kentucky's trigger laws, banning abortions immediately after the Supreme Court decision, and how overturning Roe was sure to affect poor people the most. She was demoralized by the anemic response of Democratic leaders and what she felt was Biden's toothless executive action. She would send long, thought-out, fact-filled paragraphs, mini op-eds over text. Later on the phone, the emotion would pour out.
These are the words of somebody who has been muted by their relatives on text. Can you imagine that? All the big HuffPo op-eds she's sending and all the others?
I know. Get the government out of my snatch, okay? Pull quote, on the record.
Oh, Jesus.
It's too personal to a female's existence to watch white men debate over uteruses. Debate over uteruses when they, from the bottom of their hearts, can't find a clitoris.
Oh, my goodness.
She just goes on and on. The EPA, Mitch McConnell was alive when schools were segregated. She was heartened by all the union organizing in the news, but appalled that J.D. Vance, the Yale-educated author of Hillbilly Elegy, was running for Ohio in the Senate. He's not a hillbilly if he wrote a huge book. Rich twat. I mean, I'm a rich twat, but I'm not running for office pretending that I'm not. But this is the rantings of just an insane person. And I find it incredible that Vogue
or any 14-year-old who's just learned a bunch of new stuff.
But, like, that she's cut off her relatives and is, like, spending time having dreams about Tucker Carlson. Like, I'm surprised Vogue even printed this, because it reads to me like the ramblings of someone who's in a mental crisis.
She is, yeah.
Like,
I think the average for a Democrat is somebody in a mental crisis.
It's like constant panic and insanity. And I don't understand how you go through life. She seemed to be animated by a faith that if she found the right words, she could reach certain relatives in Kentucky and perhaps all women in all red states. And there's conservatives in blue states too, Jennifer, but I know that's too complicated and nuanced for you. But she was convinced that the way many people vote or don't vote at all has nothing to do with what they actually believe, that it was all a misunderstanding, that the real divide was not between right and left, as so many politicians would have us believe, but between those at the top and everybody else at the bottom, that most Americans had more in common than not.
Have you ever had a conversation or read something or listened to something like a podcast that changed your mind on something?
I mean, I don't listen to or watch that much political stuff. I mean, there have been times Tucker has brought stuff up that I thought was interesting that wasn't how I thought about stuff, for example.
Right. But it goes against your conservative principles. Something
but in general, usually if something changes my mind on something, it's not because somebody made an argument, but because evidence emerged that I found compelling. For example, I changed my mind on the China and trade stuff because of COVID. Because I was we can't actually be reliant on this country's economy because they're too corrupt and unstable. And things like this happen, and they're shipping N95s back to China in the middle of the pandemic and saying nothing's happening. That's not, you can't function normally with a country like that and have normal free trade. That to me is an example of an issue that I changed my mind on, and I did because events happened that made me change my mind, but not because.
Well, but that shows that you're willing to vet new opinions and takes, at least in your mind, to entertain them. Mm-hmm. You're not done thinking and haven't closed the safe and thrown away the key, But these people on the left, they have absolutely closed the safe and thrown away the key. She doesn't see how she could possibly learn anything from her relatives. Mm-mm. She knows all the things that she knows and feels to be right already, and she's done learning other stuff. She doesn't want to. She'll be totally reject that. She has no reason, and I'm not saying that I'm the most, whatever, cross the aisle kind of guy, but I do understand emotionally, certainly, why women are pro-choice. I can see it. At times, I've been passionately, I understand the reason for it. I think there's a problem with the science, of course, that blows it away, and it's a big problem. But I can see it's an unnatural world we're living in, where you'd have to make a decision to endanger somebody's life or to eliminate somebody's life. Then, where's the point system on who gets to live? It's weird, and that we have to do it as a society and laws and things like that. It seems medieval, but when you're making a civilization, stuff at the fringes has to be kind of medieval. But so I can understand passionately why that is. Do you think she understands why people are pro-life?
No, not at all.
No. Do you think she ever thinks about, when she thinks about her child, that there's a time where that little beautiful baby that she loves right now could have simply been eliminated, deleted, gone away? While in a heart-beating, thinking little thing. She would never, at least put yourself, I can imagine being in 1961 and a woman who has a one-night stand and the guy is off. And you are in a precarious position where your family will disown you, and you've got a kid, and you had hopes and dreams, etc. I could understand how you'd feel totally screwed and trapped in the panic that would set it. Mm-hmm. I can understand. But she and the people around her have no idea, no sympathy. Oh, the anti-abortion people, they stand outside of the abortion people. They're so uncaring. They're showing no empathy. But they are showing empathy. They're showing empathy for the unborn life. And that's, you have to spend a little time at least getting in their heads, or taking their position and trying to, as the trans movement says, trying to not amplify, what is that? We were trying to, what the child... Not amplify. We're trying
personify?
to no. We're trying to reinforce the child's own beliefs.
Legitimize or affirm.
Affirm, exactly. Where you've got to at least have the capacity to try. But people like her, and she's just obviously an amateur thinker too. And she's hanging out with amateur thinkers who wear fancy suits and look smart. Like, and she watches somebody about Rachel Maddow and says, wow, she's really intelligent. Maddow is intelligent and well-spoken, and this is the person who I open my mind to. But anybody else, I close my mind to other people. I close my mind. And it's just dangerous and obtuse. I was always in my life, I'm pro-death penalty. I still am. I think it's a wonderful thing. I wish it was used much more than it is. And used to the point where it was a legitimate
deterrent.
Deterrent, right? Thank you very much. But the legal system is the legal system, whatever. But that said, I changed my mind almost completely on criminal justice reform. Really, by listening to one podcast like 5 years ago with this guy who had done a little time, and he was on the Rubin Report with Dave Rubin. And he said he was a lost idiot, when he was 19 or 20 years old. Whatever, and he robbed a couple of places with some friends, and they sent him to jail, and he went to jail for like 7 or 8 years, whatever. And I thought that the point he made was fantastic, is that the 27-year-old man who was sitting in jail was not the same man as the 19-year-old who effed around and got busted.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know what? That's a great point. First of all, many of us were little a-holes when we were late teens, etc. And it's true. I was a little a-hole from a nice, beautiful town, and I could get in trouble, and nothing was ever going to happen. It would get expunged, or it wasn't going to follow me anywhere. It's not the same for kids who couldn't afford lawyers, or kids in poor towns, etc. But that said, it's like, just as a matter of empathy, some 17-year-old kid who does something terrible, when he's a 27-year-old kid, it's very fair to reevaluate and say, is this young man now the same as that lost kid? And in some cases, it's not the same. And people deserve, I think, out of empathy, a second chance in this country. We should do whatever we can to never close the books on somebody, unless they're a psycho killer, and then just fry them. I'm fine. But and that's something that I totally changed my position on. I thought that's a better society, is a society that gives people a second chance. Some people aren't lucky enough to know how to play by the rules for reasons that are not their own. And if they can be reformed, and if they are, and they show it, then we're a better society. If we show... I didn't say F them, let them rot in prison. Maybe when I was younger, I probably would have. If I was in my 20s or 30s, I probably would have said, F them, throw away the key. Maybe it's because you get old and you get softer or not. But I am worried that people on the other side don't seem to have, or many of them don't seem to have, and people on my side too, don't seem to have the capacity or want to at all to have their worldview that they've solidified at such a young age, having done so little intellectual work, having done so little work in mining for knowledge, decide to close shop on any more growing and learning, saying, no, I figured it out, I'm 24, these are now my core beliefs, and I'm going to act on them only. And I'm offended that my family in Kentucky has their own core beliefs. Don't they know? I've been through life and done stuff. I also live in Beverly Hills and go naked in the spa with reporters. I do extraordinary stuff. I don't have anything more to learn. My people in Kentucky, they obviously have more things to learn. It's a terrible thing, and it's so full of hubris, and it's a problem. And they've also taught themselves to have certain sensitivities to certain things. So, Tucker Carlson, I have nightmares about him. What is he going to bow tie you to death or fly fish you to death? He's not a scary character.
He's really not.
No.
There's people that I could see having nightmares about. It's weird, but I could envision people on the left having nightmares about Trump or about Stephen Miller or Steve Bannon or somebody. Because they have a little bit of but Tucker, you're going to have nightmares about Tucker Carlson. He's so innocuous.
Well, this is a girl who probably goes to the same parties as freaking, half of the rap community who come armed and have shot people. So they're fine. But the bow tie guy on Fox News, he's a scary person.
I want to know more about the nightmares. I want to know what the nightmares are that she has. Does he chase her? What happened?
Tucker spends more time talking to liberals than any liberal does. When's the last person? Who's the last conservative Rachel Maddow has talked to? Who's not part of the Lincoln Project or Anna Navarro or some whack job who's just some kind of turncoat? Where's Lawrence O'Donnell? Where's all the conservatives that he talks to? They don't talk at all.
Well, that's because none of their stuff would hold up if they had on like a good conservative.
Right, but if you got a guy like Tucker talks to Glenn Greenwald, these two guys, with the exception of a couple of issues, these two guys have been at polar opposite ends,
right,
over the years. But they at least have enough intellectual ventilation to, mix the air.
Well, right. But the left is now so ingrained in their own like crazy fever dream of what's happening in America, and Biden's like feeding into it with these speeches about fascism in front of these crazy backdrops and stuff, whatever he's doing. And like they're living in this weird fantasy world, and it's I don't know what to do about it psychologically because Trump's not president anymore. And it seems to be worse than ever. Now there's like Olivia Wilde is making this movie too that I thought looked kind of interesting. It's like this Stepford Wivesy thing. Right. I mean, obviously I knew it was going to be liberal because they're all idiots, but I thought maybe it looked interesting or whatever. This Don't Worry Darling with her boyfriend Harry Styles I guess she hooked up with him during the thing. Mm-hmm. And divorced Jason Sudeikis.
Oh, that's who she was going. Sudeikis, another guy who's nailed about half of everybody in the country.
So anyway, and like Florence Pugh is in it, who's another big liberal. They're all liberal. What do you expect?
Does Olivia Wilde have kids?
I don't think so. Does she?
I don't know.
Could be wrong. I don't know. But I haven't heard about them. If so, it's possible, I guess. But anyway, so she's making this movie. It's like these people, I think it's supposed to take place in the future, but it all like looks like 50s housewife, like mid-century modern vibes.
It's
like,
very pretty. It's very good looking.
And like very dramatic music and like beautiful costumes and set design and all that stuff. Like it's obviously a very pretty movie, and it has very good looking people in it. Florence Pugh and Olivia Wilde's in it, and Harry Styles and Chris Pine, and like the men are working on this like Project Victory, and like the women are like being subjected but they don't realize it or something. I don't know exactly what the concept is, but I'm sure it's like not brilliant. But anyway, so between all the drama about the cast, like they also had fired Shia LaBeouf from it because apparently his acting style made Florence Pugh feel unsafe.
That's great.
So
that's
I
great.
don't know. And then he was like posting Instagram beef. So there's been all this drama surrounding it that I can't really decide how much of it has just been whipped up to promote the movie and how much is real, but whatever. Anyway, you got to let them do their like Hollywood thing. But so Olivia Wilde comes out and says that the main character, who's like the nefarious leader of this Project Victory thing, who's based on Chris Pine, who's played by Chris Pine, is based on Jordan Peterson, who she calls a pseudo-intellectual who's a hero to the incel community.
Fantastic. Well, that's the same. It's the same Jennifer Lawrence thing. This is the mind meld that's happening in Hollywood. And they have no idea what Jordan Peterson is saying. He's certainly not a pseudo-intellectual. You can say he's off base and doesn't make any sense, but he's an intellectual. He's not right. Jennifer Lawrence level thinker, obviously. There's no doubt about that. But, I mean, and also, he's a guy who tells young men to make their beds.
Wilde told fellow actor-turned-director Maggie Gyllenhaal during a conversation for Interview magazine that Chris Pine's character was inspired by Jordan Peterson, the Canadian author and media personality described by Wilde as this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Pine stars in Don't Worry Darling as Frank, the founder of a utopian 1950s community in the desert known as the Victory Project. Wilde's film, written by her Booksmart collaborator Katie Silberman, and some of Dick Van Dyke's kids or grandkids or something too, I think also have done this too. Centers on Florence Pugh's Alice, a Victory Project housewife who discovers her idyllic community is harboring dark secrets. Trailers have positioned Pine's Frank as the film's antagonist. So, incels are basically disenfranchised, mostly white men, Wilde explains, who believe they are entitled to sex from women. And they believe that society has now robbed them, that the idea of feminism is working against nature, and that we must be put back into the correct place. Has Jordan Peterson ever advocated for women to be imprisoned in a utopian 1950s community and
That is
subjugated.
right out of his latest book, Imprisoning Women chapter. I remember it.
Because
Remember it.
Like I say,
Tucker Carlson was the warden.
They're living in like an actual fever dream. In her Variety cover story, Wilde said she did a deep dive on the disenfranchised world of white men on the internet before filming started.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And even logged on to 4chan.
What was her deep dive? Was on what?
The disenfranchised world of white men on the internet.
Oh, that's fantastic. Google disenfranchised world of white men. Aha! Just as I thought. My goodness.
Unfortunately, it turns out the movie is not actually very good.
Mother Jones and the Marcos
she
whatever.
She logged on to 4chan.
My goodness.
As part of her research.
That's her deep dive? These people are dumb. The problem is that Hollywood is full of, most actors obviously just want to be popular. They're the acting school kids. They're dumbs, but they get a lot of adults who applaud for them a lot as kids, so they think they're very smart. Like David Hogg, he comes from the acting class. All of those kids come from the acting class. They're all frauds. Chat time, all right, bro?
Already?
Yeah.
It's flown by.
I know. But this one here says it's a week ago, but a week ago we were on vacation. Did you do unauthorized listening? Or does a week ago mean more than a week ago? I don't know. Here we go.
Well, welcome back to the biggest wuss in Splash Mountain history.
Hey, buddy. You try freaking Splash Mountain. It's no joke. I was in absolute terror on Splash Mountain. By the way, Space Mountain should be shut down. I was just talking to my friend who's also in my advanced age.
You look less dramatically terrified on that one.
I was
You also
horrified.
don't look happy, but
I also had my eyes closed on Space Mountain. And Splash Mountain, there's a 500-foot drop. It's not tethered to anything. It's a full just drop. Dude, I know it's a very tough person thing to say. It's easy to see the picture and say, oh my goodness, yeah, I would have been smoking a cigarette. No, it was frigging terrifying and should be shut down immediately.
Enjoyed your synopsis of the Biden speech, but I'm wondering what the Republicans are going to do about it. So far, all they've done is wheel out Trump for a rally. That's not going to work with the folks in the middle that can sway elections. It's great to have you back, and I hope you had some extra underwear to change into after your perilous plunge down the mountain. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you very much. Yes, there has been scuttlebutt about the idea that perhaps I lost control of my. But no, that is not true. I can tell you, I have not been more terrified, other than when I watched Tucker Carlson, than I was at Disney World. It is terrifying. I'm telling you. Now, as far as what the Republicans are doing, their messaging has sucked.
They're so terrible.
They're so terrible. They're now dragging their wives back out there to say, see, no, even though we're for abortion, we're kind of for abortion. We don't know where we are in abortion. I mean, it should be... Stick to your thing and say it, for God's sakes. And the only person who sticks to his thing and says it is, now in a fist fight with investigators over the Mar-a-Lago thing. It's like, come on, man. Their messaging has been terrible. I was listening to the commentary podcast today. They were talking about how that suburban women are drifting right back to Biden, saying, yeah, you know what, he's the safe. They're, like we started at the beginning of this podcast, the Republicans not doing anything and not saying anything. And Mitch McConnell, for instance, opting to not have a message so they can't be attacked, but to rather let the Democrats be the topic. It's not working anymore. Biden's cynical, country-dividing, suck stuff that he's done has been somewhat effective. Between that and the abortion stuff, and the student loan forgiveness stuff, etc., it's politically gross and will make the country worse and will make the split between the Jen Lawrences and the normal people who live in red states a permanent thing. But yes, you're right. The Republicans have to do something. First of all, nobody likes, when you're looking for a leader, nobody likes somebody with no balls. You have to be a leader by leading, by saying stuff with confidence that you can back up and you're not going to get pushed off of. That's why Ron DeSantis is the guy.
Right.
He's just the guy.
Although he hasn't been very tough he's been playing it safe on the abortion thing too.
Well, sure. But, I mean, he's gotten results. He's chosen his spots. He plays it safe in abortion. He goes and boots the prosecutor, who he finds whatever. His standing up to Disney, now that we've recently been to Disney World's a bigger operation than Disneyland. That is shocking that this guy would mess with that monolith, but he's doing it, or at least going through the motions of doing it.
Yeah.
But there's only one of him, unfortunately.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Welcome back from vacay.
Thank
I don't
you.
know. Did I last leave Steve as enemies, or were we?
I don't
we
remember.
formed an
I think
alliance?
he might have attacked me, and then you liked him again,
That's
but I forgot
right.
why.
Oh, by the way, Steve, Alice, by the way, looking thinner than ever, looking like 2005 Alice.
I don't
when
think
we'll just
you're
say,
being
Steve,
fair
it was
to me.
snowing in Lexington, if you know what I mean.
One of us has a substance abuse problem, and it is not me.
Is alcohol substance abuse?
Yes.
Crap.
Well, thanks. Tom, you're a regular Leonard Maltin when it comes to movie knowledge.
Thank you.
I didn't know that Breakfast at Tiffany's was released in 1969. So that year it was Midnight Cowboy, The Wild Bunch, and Breakfast at Tiffany's. No, Breakfast at Tiffany's was 1961.
Was it really? Jeez, very young George Papard.
My sister, by the way, tells me that Audrey Hepburn is never canceled.
Well, okay. I mean, she's fine. She got into dogs later on. Or was that, no, that was, no, that was the Bridget Bardot. She was fine. She was fine. I have a friend who, we're not going to mention, who always said she had a strangleable neck, and I can't get that out of my head. He's not well, but he still hangs out.
And a couple other things. One, Shirley Temple and Mickey Rooney never worked together.
You know what Leonard Maltin is?
No.
He was a big movie reviewer. Shirley Temple and Mickey Rooney, yes, they were. They worked together. Steamship Lollipop. What's it? It's a Good Ship Lollipop.
The Good Ship Lollipop. Is Mickey Rooney in that?
Yeah, no, but he and her were always showing up at things.
Shirley Temple worked with Mickey Rourke about as much as she worked with Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney worked with Judy Garland.
Is that true?
I don't know.
Hold
So,
on.
I don't know.
Steve, you don't frig you know about anything in Merrimack, Massachusetts. Steve.
I know that Shirley Temple is a big Republican. That's
Yes,
about the extent of my knowledge on that.
Rooney,
But
Shirley.
speaking of Republicans, the governor's Republican primary in
by the way-
Massachusetts pretty close today. By the way, it's only 3% reported in, but it's like it's only a few points off. So the Howie, the bought and paid for Howie endorsement is working. I think. So we'll see how close he gets. I think it will be Jeff at the end of the day, Jeff Deal, but we'll see if Chris Doty can. If his purchased Howie endorsement will get him the nomination.
But did I hit a nerve or what with you about your former cocaine habit?
I don't have.
I'm not the substance abuse person here.
I don't have a former
Sorry.
cocaine habit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a former cocaine
Alice?
habit, so
Alice?
I don't.
Okay.
It's just not true.
That's
So
That's fine.
And then,
By the way,
I wouldn't even know like how to
no.
get cocaine.
I love
have
this
no
act.
clue.
I love this. It just makes you cuter to me.
This is rude. It
So
is
I'd like
not
to make
true.
a couple of corrections. One, it appears that the Breakfast at Tiffany's was not in 1969. It also appears that Mickey Rourke and Shirley.
You mean Mickey Rooney?
Mickey Rooney and Shirley Temple never did work together.
Okay.
So there are some some nuances.
Okay.
Were different. I had a different set of facts available. Where am I? Where is this thing? Hold on. Okay, let's see.
and one last thing about
Yes.
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that in addition to the Mickey Rooney character being problematic, isn't, as Ralphie from The Sopranos would say, isn't the Holly Golightly character a hooah? She's a hooah. Anyway, welcome back.
He makes a point. I don't use such vile language, so I wouldn't know, but he makes a point. You know, I'm a Kate Hepburn guy. You know, I don't like that other one. The other one's from Deutschland or something.
My eyes deceive me, but do I see the barrel of burn is returned from its long trip from California. Cannot wait for these messages and all this information.
That's right. We are back, and I was back Sunday, but that episode has been...
It's not on Apple.
No, bastards.
Has Tom thought about doing this idea for the OnlyFans where he rates food based against a chili dog? Basically, it's better than a chili dog, it'll be called. And he has to eat things and then compare it to the chili dog.
I don't think
All
he
right,
can do
bye.
that on his diet. I mean, his his like plan right
so
now.
So we haven't mentioned the chili dog, have we?
No, why?
I believe there was a sexual innuendo in there, Alice. I believe. Do you know what that is?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. I don't really want to know either.
Those are the days that have been deleted.
Let's just leave it.
The 4.5 years of the Yacht Bunny
That's
gone.
Not true.
Delete.
Not true.
I noticed that they do ASMR on OnlyFans, like erotic ASMR, which is
creepy,
kind of bizarre. I'm not really into that, but yours truly used to write erotic literature in high school. I'll just let me know if you want me to read some. All right, bye.
He's panting a little too, Alice. Ugh.
It's uncomfortable.
Man.
Tom.
Yes.
Mike from Newton.
Hey, Mike.
Just catching up on the last couple of episodes, and something just jumped out at me that is bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
So, let me get this straight. You show up extremely late for your flight.
Yes.
You run up to the gate, please let me in. They do you a favor.
Yes.
They let you on. Then, you have the audacity to complain about you don't get the seat you wanted? I get it, it was open, so what? So what?
Mm-hmm.
You were late, you were the problem. If they told you to sit underneath with the cargo, you should have done that. You know, put you with animals in the cages somewhere, do that.
I do think, though, they should have to refund the money that you pay for the good seat if you don't get to sit there.
Well, yes, or something.
For whatever
I understand
reason.
I was late. But first of all, that was the first gatekeeper, okay? That guy, he made me, I transacted with him. I was late. He got to browbeat me for a little bit in this bitchy way, okay? Then they let me on the plate. Now we're on adventure number 2 into the plane, and then they decided that the late people, you know, they had already started reading their news weeks or whatever, and they had to get back up now and to hassle me, etc. I am the victim in this.
God, am I disappointing in you and disappointed in you. And then Alice, I think, is going to come to the rescue and be like, yeah, Tom, what's your problem? Why were you late? You should have just done what you were told. And what does she say? I'm so glad that they got that straightened out because I would have gave them a piece of my mind. Oh, God. It's like you went. No,
I would have. I would have called them and asked to be refunded.
Get it together, people.
Hold on.
You don't understand. I had to pay.
Hold on.
Hang on. I want to say something, though.
God. It's like you went and told your mommy on them. Jeez, get it together.
Typical people. Alice. I'm with you on that part.
You have to understand that we had to pay all this extra money for Tom to have his own ticket on his own plane in a bigger seat because he wouldn't fly with us and the rest of the family in normal size airplane seats on Southwest with a connecting flight.
Correct.
He had to have his own special direct flight that we had to drop him off on.
I didn't book a charter, Alice. There was one heading there, okay, and I looked and I found it. I found a pretty good price, I must say. And if the seats were even the skinny person seat was more roomy than most seats, so it was pretty good.
Hey, Tom. This is Walt in Phoenix. And yesterday you mentioned Mickey Rooney in that movie.
First of all, I get along with every Walt I've ever met. By the way, including Walt Disney.
You've met him?
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I feel like I have. Mickey Rooney, Breakfast at Tiffany's. I get the feeling I know where this is going.
Do we have 3 more messages like this, too?
You should do a search for Don Rickles and the TV show F Troop. The pictures are amazing. I don't think anything can be done like that today. Anyway, It's basically 1 o'clock in Phoenix, and it is 104 degrees in my backyard. I hope the weather's better out there.
Walt, it is now just raining out here. I'm thrilled that you're in Phoenix and that you're listening. I hope you have a pool or access to stuff. I went to Phoenix for the Super Bowl a few years ago, whenever the Pats played, like 6 years ago, whenever the Pats played the Falcon. Was that the Phoenix? No, it was Pats played the one where the guy made the great catch. The dude they played the Seahawks.
Was the Phoenix one? Okay.
Yeah, and I thought it was awesome. I thought the city was awesome. Then again, of course,
that's the year that I was abandoned in the huge snowstorm.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was, Alice. But you know what? The media industry beckoned me over to the Super Bowl, and I had to go and leave during halftime, of course, while the Sharks were walking in on the loading dock. I walked past the Sharks, the dancing Sharks. What was the girl?
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry Sharks.
Was that the same one, or was that the Texas one?
No, that was Phoenix.
Okay.
Yeah, because I left during halftime, and then like Pats came back, but I thought they were going to lose anyway, and I wanted to whatever.
Yes, hello.
Oh.
Yeah, hello, Tom.
Hi.
It's Harvey Firestein.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to correct you.
Getting corrected by a lot of people. First of all, it's great that he listens. I thought Phoenix would be the furthest west we go, but Firestein, I think, lives in L.A. now.
Wow,
So.
there you go.
You're mislabeling me the general role in Independence Day.
Right.
Yeah, I played Marty Gilbert, and I was Jeff Goldblum's boss at the television station in New York.
Oh.
Yeah, the role of the general was Robert Loggia.
Who's awesome.
Who also has a gravelly voice like me.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll call him too. Anyway, I just wanted to say you look great, sweetie.
Oh, thank you.
For a bear like you, you're doing great, and you look great. And my best to Alice and the kids. Bye-bye.
That's nice, and I like Harvey Firestein very much. And technically, Alice, if I was rolling with the in the gay community, I would absolutely be a bear. And I have no problem with that. What's that? Why is that funny?
I don't know. It just says.
You know what? We don't need you anymore, okay?
Okay, go have fun being a bear.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-ay. Oh, what a wonderful day.
He sounded like Dean Martin there for a second.
Plenty of sunshine, plenty of something rather. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-ay.
He's got a good voice.
Mm-hmm.
I like Uncle Remus. I have no problem with that. I always thought my dad loved him. I thought it was great.
Why you put down the shade on the plane, you motherfucker?
Oh, Jesus.
Who put down the shade on the window in the plane, you animal? Put your shoes on, you motherfucker!
That's Lionel yelling at the lady on the plane in my aisle who put down the shoes and everything else.
He's defending you this time.
Thank you, Lionel. You see, people can reach across the aisle, Alice. My goodness.
Just imagine this. Content that is current. Imagine the fact that there was no content for 7 days and there was no chat comments for 7 days. Perhaps the people that listen to the show are going to comment on the things you talk about daily because they find them somewhat interesting. Now, let's talk about windows being open in a plane.
Okay.
The first thing that most long-distance plane flights do is announce, close your windows so that everybody can see their TVs. And it sounds like Tom was enamored with his TV, so that should have worked in his favor. Happy to have you guys back. Glad the kids are playing such a major role in the content since you've gotten back. Have a great day.
Well, thank you so much, but I didn't hear such an announcement. I've never heard that. They would really say to shut your windows? And I understand that does wash out the TVs a little bit right in front of you, but really, you're in the plane going 500 miles per hour, 22,000 feet, in a fat guy seat, comfortable as hell, with your own TV. You know, a little bit of with the great. No, I don't think so. I think that the two things work.
By the way, you were making fun of me because Southwest didn't have their own TVs on the backs of the seats.
I think that sounds horrific.
That's how all plane flights used to be.
I remember, Alice. I remember going back and forth to California and reading the American Airlines corporate, monogram thing about how you should buy monogram golf balls for the employee of the month.
The Sky, whatever.
Yeah,
Sky Mall.
Sky Mall. Yes, going through that again and again and again, rereading it.
No, they don't even have that on Southwest. Although the kids, every plane flight, even though it's the exact same on every flight, pulled out the menu of drinks and perused the selection of drinks they could order,
right,
orange juice, apple juice, Sprite. They went through those very carefully each flight. It was all new to them each time. Although I did see one person, this is what I was going to say, who had a little clip thing for their iPad so that they could hang it on the basket of the seat in front of them. So it was almost like they got their own TV.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Nothing beats your own TV. And then the best thing I've ever flown on was the last time I went to California to Stanford was Virgin Atlantic. That was living because you got not only your own TV and your own movies and this and that. This is the one where on the return flight George Schultz was in the seat behind me. But you got all of your menu and cocktail menu and you could just dial up whatever you wanted at any time, and he'd come running down with it. Anytime. Cocktails, drinks, shrimp cocktail, probably not shrimp cocktail, but that was living. That was living, and not on my dime. So we like that very much. So when I go around giving TED Talks about Awaken 180, Alice, that'll be a lap of luxury. All right.
Thank you so much for listening and for all
excellent chat calls, by the way. It went from nothing to loaded up.
Well, but I think the listener, I don't know which person said that, but that said that people like to comment on what we just said. So if we don't have a show, they don't call because they're not. By the way, they're not incensed by your bad movie trivia.
By the way, who knew, Alice, that we are so blessed to have the absolute encyclopedic knowledge of everything that's ever happened in the silver screen, possessed by this listenership. My goodness, the movie, please, man. Don't get it wrong. You don't get Shirley.
Well, if you're going to talk about something, like, you obviously took the time to find the Mickey Rooney clip from the movie.
Don't get Mickey Rooney's co-stars wrong, or, is a communist preppy from Merrimack will jump down your throat with several bullet points.
You had to pull up the movie anyway to get the clip to play, so...
And that's
you
just a testament to how many
seen what year it came out while you did that. I mean, I don't know. I'm just sitting here.
It was 69.
I didn't even know we were going to talk about breakfast.
That is a testament to how few things I get wrong. That they all rejoice in hit the gas when they finally get me on something that I'm marginally incorrect on.
So thank you so much for listening. And as I was going to say, thank you so much for all the great chat messages. It was fun. The show flew by today. There is plenty more stuff that we did not even get to that's still on my list that I want to talk about tomorrow. So we will talk to you all again tomorrow. You can talk to us on Twitter in the meantime at Burn Barrel Pod. Shoot us an email, burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com.
C'est La Vie. Nice one.